Yeah, it's flat and
Not a lot of deflection or absorption from trees or
yeah,
mountainsides or
how windy
anything.
it would be that day,
Right.
you know, is a factor. I've just done these kind of hearings literally for decades, and we've done sound tests at sites. I've done sound tests in a room like this where I asked everybody to be quiet, and I got 41 decibels, which was basically the air conditioner going on and off. And I did this just out of my own curiosity because sound came up so often, and I tried to learn more about it.
So is there any frame of reference where someone can say this is what the noise level is while we're doing this job?
Well, it depends what kind of equipment is being used at what time.
Well, we're estimating here because that's what you were doing to begin with, is kind of just a rough calculation estimation, and I'm just curious because, and this was an issue in the past, that's why I'm drilling into this, no pun intended, a little bit deeper.
That's a fair question. So are you more concerned with the rig or with the fracture simulation itself?
Well,
Because they're two totally different operations, and I can explain.
at the end of the day, I mean, if that residence is that far away, it's probably not going to be an issue. I just am a little curious about how we're coming up, not only for past hearings, but future hearings as we move forward, how we're going to quantify, if we're setting that precedent today saying, well, at the rig, it's going to be about 90 decibels, and we talked about this last time, remember, guys? And then, so we should be okay. And this distance, based on the last time we talked about calculating this, it should be, using 90 as the frame of reference like we did last time, and maybe the house is half the distance away that this one is, or a third of the distance, whatever. It could, obviously it's going to vary. Then we did those calculations, and the noise level is acceptable, which on paper sounds good. But as we've learned in the recent past, that didn't really always come to pass. And I know, and maybe for this particular permit, it's not going to be an issue, and it doesn't sound like it's going to be. I'm just kind of laying a little bit of groundwork, I guess, because I imagine we'll be having these conversations again, in the future. So I'm just trying to kind of make sure we're on the same page with this one. And I apologize for dragging this part out, but.
And I'm sure maybe Albert may have some survey data that he could share with us. We ourselves could go out there and run a survey to kind of get our own baseline. But yeah, typically on a frac job, majority of the day are the big semis just idling on location. It's not very loud. When we go to start pumping the frac job, it lasts anywhere from 1 hour to 2 hours long. And then you have the engines rev up, and that's when you're seeing the higher decibel levels. And you're seeing probably, I don't know, I don't have a good reference to how loud it actually gets at the source, but.
I'd be interested to
Yeah,
know.
I would too. It's a
Yeah.
good data point.
Okay. And that would be something that, we could just move past, moving forward, that would be something we would all have a little bit of, because there are some folks that have more knowledge from this industry than others, me included. And that would just give us put us a little bit on more level footing as a collective too. So I'd be interested to kind of know what maybe an average noise reading would be during the actual fracturing operation, if that's something that we could find out maybe.
Sure, we could work on that.
Okay.
Recognizing that for this type of operation, it's just for a relatively short period of time. It's not, I just want to be clear, this isn't the sound ongoing in the future. This
Right,
is just
right.
Okay.
Right, just during the actual recompletion of the well, right? Okay.
You said 100 is a car horn? 100
110.
decibels is a car horn?
I'm sorry, 110 is a car horn.
110. So that'd be like someone laying on their car horn.
Yeah,
Yeah. I think it's-
Yeah, and I have a.
not Mark's car. He's got a little roller skate.
I have a printout I could share that gives the
We can all go out there.
different, and it's available
Okay.
on Google if you want to get
All
some
right.
comparisons of different types of noise.
And if I could, if you wouldn't mind indulging me just a little bit more. I am using, and I know this is, I wouldn't say apples and oranges, but it wasn't in the city limits, but I took part in a subcommittee, I watched a subcommittee hearing. I didn't take part in it, so that's not really accurate, but recently when our congressional delegation toured the Chaco area, the checkerboard area, And some of the stuff that they brought up was kind of fascinating to me, and it got my gears turning a little bit, and this is the first hearing we've had since then. And I'm curious about leaking. I mean, that's a huge issue in the San Juan Basin, is the methane leaking. It has the attention of our Congress, our congressional delegation. We're under a methane cloud. We can argue that point all day long, as the benefit or the drawbacks of that. But either way, whether it's hazardous or not, it's kind of like, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's kind of like if your plumbing is leaking, other than the fact that it's ruining your house and flooding your basement, you're paying for that water, and you're basically letting money run around on the ground. Is that a fair statement when I compare that to methane, to leaking well sites?
Well, certainly the operator and the owner has no interest in having any gas escape, if that's what you mean by leaking. So the company has all the incentive in the world to minimize that. In terms of the so-called cloud over the San Juan Basin, there are a number of contributing factors to that.
Yeah, and I'm not to suggest that it's all leaking, wells. There's a lot of different things that can contribute to that, but I think it's fair to say that that is something that contributes.
Yeah, it's one of livestock, wild animals contribute. There's seeping at the outcrop of the basin. I've actually had to go out for a study and find places where it's naturally seeping, and I burned my hand. I lit a match to see. I couldn't tell if it was a bubble coming out of the water or gas.
Right.
This is a pretty unintelligent thing to do, but there's a lot of natural seeps. You've got coal plants and other.
Right. And we can't fix those. I mean, we can't put a big, it's not like, working on a fuel system on a ship, which is kind of back in my old days. But the things we couldn't fix, or that we could fix, we certainly did, and we tried to minimize any leakage for environmental issues, for money issues, for waste, fraud and abuse kind of issues, a multitude of issues. So my next question, I guess, is, are there any checks in place currently that, and where I was going with these hearings is that there was an expert witness that testified that had basically, from what I understand, and these are layman's terms, what amounted to night vision goggles for the well sites, where they could look through and detect leaks at flanges, at the pump, and I just would like to ask if there are some protocols in place where not only when you recomplete, but especially sticking to the topic, when you go to recomplete one of these wells, that you can give some reassurances to us that all due diligence has been done to repair any leaks that might already be existing that you discovered once you go out to that well site, and to continually monitor those. Is that something that is a priority to the folks that go out and monitor the wells and check the operations? Do you have those types of instruments to check for those types of leaks?
So, yeah, lots of questions here. I'd like to
Sorry.
answer, yeah. I'll start top. Hillcorp Energy is committed to being an environmental prudent operator in the basin. And we've enacted many environmental initiatives to show that. For example, a couple of years ago, we were the largest producer of solar energy in the state of New Mexico. Nearly every one of our well sites has solar panels and a battery pack to power automation and everything else. So that, by 12,000 wells, is a lot of solar energy that we produce. Not enough to sell back to the city, but definitely a lot of that. We have a fleet of 65 alternative fueled vehicles, or vehicles. They're propane powered. We use that to minimize our carbon monoxide emissions and reduce greenhouse gases. And we also have a voluntary methane kind of inspection program. So those night goggles that you mentioned, they're actually it's an LDAR program, so leak detection program that we do, and we do these on all these recompletes that we do. We also do these on high-risk wells. High-risk well deemed by us is a well in close proximity to a house, a roadway, anywhere where we may be in contact with people. We're starting there. We've developed a program that we'll probably share later on, where we'll address all the wells that we operate in the basin over the course of the next 4 years. In addition to the camera that we will move on and inspect as well after we bring it online to check for gas, we, in-house, we have a team that will go out there and x-ray the surface equipment to make sure that it is safe and sound and it won't have any leaks. We already did that on this particular facility to make sure the tank was intact and whole and we wouldn't leak. If we, with the contents there, we did that with the separator and the piping on location. So we were actually going above and beyond by inspecting everything out there to make sure it's fit for service. So we don't want to have a leak either.
Could I ask a quick follow-up on that? And again, this is just kind of, I was a boiler operator in the Navy, and we would have to do pre-scheduled maintenance on stuff like this and have specialists come in and x-ray the boiler tubes, because the last thing we wanted was 1,200 pounds of steam blasting into our fire, into the boiler room. So are they scheduled, or is it kind of a random spot check kind of thing, or both, or?
We're actually starting to schedule them out as it speaks. This is somewhat new to us. We enacted this with ConocoPhillips, and we're assuming that same program with
Okay.
Fort Energy. So we're building out a 4-year schedule. You know, there are a lot of wells to look at.
Right,
There's 12,000 wells, so we're trying to do our best to identify those at highest risk, highest priority, tackle those first.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
I'd like to add one more thing.
Yes, sir.
There was, we took on initiative to replace all our controllers, high bleed controllers, which was a source of emissions with low bleed or intermittent bleed. So we've done that and taken care of our entire field, all the 12,000 wells we have.
So what I understand is that, yes, you are aggressively or at least making plans over, the coming months and years to address existing leaks and to continually check, on a scheduled basis, well sites to ensure that they don't start to leak, and if they do, you'll fix them as soon as you can, or immediately, or whatever, Okay. I appreciate you indulging my questions. I think that's all I have on that. Does anybody else have any questions, or did I kind of cover the entire oil and gas? Okay. All right. Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate your time. Let's see. We are now, okay, staff and parties.
Mr. Mayor, there was a
Yes, sir.
question, so I was going to address it.
Oh, about the business license?
Yes. So also really quick to get into the noise, because that was a conversation that was occurring. La Plata County did do a study. It is in a little bit of a conflict with BLM study in regards to noise. So I'm just going to read off some numbers right now.
Okay.
Not to argue with an attorney, because I know how that goes. I'm always on the losing end. So typical compressor station is listed at 50 dBA, and that's considered about 375 feet away. Okay. Now we're going to get a little closer. So pumping units are about 50 dBA. That's about from 50 feet away from the actual site. Fuel and water trucks coming and going, that is listed at 68 dBA at 500 feet away from the source. Okay. Cranes from the hosting rig, that's listed at 68 dBA from 500 feet away from the source. Okay. So an average well construction site, this is taking into consideration everything that's going in and out, from trucks to pumps to the actual drilling well on site, is listed at 65 dBA. Now, the loudest thing about all of this is going to be that drill rig, be it an actual drill, a workover. Make no question about it, it is loud, and it can get at up to 107 dBA. Okay?
107?
107. Okay. Point of reference, a jet engine is 120. So
Okay.
that, again, is going to be loud. Now, with this application in particular, you're looking at the closest dwelling unit 2,866 feet away. So there is a buffer right there. But if you're in close proximity and there is a drill rig, a workover rig, it is loud.
So that's something like we kind of alluded to for future reference more than present reference. Would you say that's fair?
I would say that's fair. And again, this is a study from La Plata County. This is our neighbors up north.
Right.
There is another study that the numbers they vary from BLM. So again, these are studies. My one, not disagreement, but I would say that phone applications measuring sound are not a best practice. Cell phones vary in terms of make, model, and so forth. So that cannot be a reliable source of measuring sound. So what we do is we'll look at studies that have actually been peer-reviewed to get a reliable answer. So hopefully that can give you some insight in terms of noise. Now, with respect to the question of business license, so yes, it is a condition from staff that the operator, which again is Baywater Drilling, has an active business license with the city of Aztec. To the question of Hillcorp obtaining their business license, yes, they were able to obtain that as of yesterday. Hillcorp was very prompt in getting that taken care of. What transpired from that was in review of this application, I checked to see if the contractor had an active business license. They did not, and hence the recommendation. If they're going to be doing business in the city of Aztec, that is a requirement that needs to happen. Hillcorp, the assumption on my end, and I will take fault for that, at the time of writing the staff report, I assumed the business license was active. After checking, just after completing the staff report, I noticed that it stated it was inactive. And
I'm
that
sorry,
would
is
have been
that-
a condition.
I was going to say, is that added as a condition, or is that something we probably need to
Well,
add in the motion?
Mr. Mayor, that would have been a condition for approval for Hillcorp to have an active business license. However, they did take care of that,
Right.
so issue solved. Hopefully that addresses the question.
It's just the contractor.
So how do we handle, what is our responsibility as far as doing the motion and things like that before we, once we get ready to do that, as far as the contractor's business license? Is that something we just need to add as a condition as part of our motion, would you suggest?
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
sorry, I should be asking you because you're the city attorney, I'm sorry.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure we get it right.
Yes, and again, these are staff's recommended conditions.
Right.
There, you can get rid of every single one of them.
Right.
Or you could add 110 of them. It is up to city commission's prerogative. But these are our recommendations based on this particular well site.
Okay.
So
And
the
it was-
contractor has to have a business license, even though Hillcorp's the operator.
Correct.
Like-
If anybody is doing business within the city of Aztec, and I'm assuming the contractor is doing business,
We say by doing business, I'm just curious, I'm not arguing, I'm just
yeah.
doing
so
business. I
to
mean, they're
answer-
doing the work, but
I'm assuming they're getting paid for the work. So,
okay, I'm just checking, okay, thank you.
So it's Baywater Drilling?
it is Baywater Drilling.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you.
And
Thank
just
you,
to
sir.
clarify, as we're making this motion, were you saying that condition number 3 is no longer a recommendation
Right.
of staff?
We need to make sure we
Right.
include that as
Okay.
well.
I got it.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay. Yeah, it's in here, this jumble of notes somewhere. Okay. Anybody else have any questions for Mr. Saavedra? At least at the moment?
No.
Okay,
No.
thank you, sir. Okay. And no other questions of the applicants, correct? Is that fair? Okay. Next is the parties to include their witnesses, 10 minutes for each party. I don't believe we have any other parties or any other interested persons. Seeing none, seeing no motion or no movement. Anybody have any further cross-examination or questions of? So I will go ahead now and close the hearing to testimony and open it to discussion amongst ourselves. Does anybody have any discussion or anything they want to add, any concerns,
No.
anything?
I don't have anything.
I think you covered.
I think you took care of it.
I'm trying to learn more about this, so I apologize for the long-windedness, but it's very educational for me. Okay. So the commission will now make a decision and issue findings of fact and conclusions of law. We are not moving into closed session, Open Meetings Act. Okay. So I think we're ready
To do a motion?
to do a motion. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move to approve oil and gas 19-01 and oil and gas well application submitted by Kerry Hutchins on behalf of Hillcourt Energy Company for permission to recomplete, frack an existing well at the location indicated per the staff report, with staff's recommended conditions, deleting, or maybe I should, conditions 1 through 5, but we're deleting number 3. And we also would like to add that the Baywater Drilling Company, the contractor needs to have an active City of Aztec business license.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Carla, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Snover,
Aye?
Mayor Pro Tem Fry,
Aye.
Commissioner Sykes?
Aye.
Commissioner Randall?
Aye.
Commissioner Lewis?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, I want to make sure I do this right. Do I have to do something else to move out of this? I already did, right? We're good. Okay. Thank you, folks. We are now back to the agenda. I think we're at department, yeah.
Yep.
We are now moving into item 12, Commissioner, City Manager, and Department Head Reports. I'll start with City Manager.
Mr. Mayor, just trying to get caught up after a weekend over in Texas, watching the Texas Rangers beat the Oakland A's on Saturday. They split the series though, but just happened to be over there, not happy about the heat.
So now they're only 15 games out, or-
Well, we don't need to get into details. But other than that, no commissioner, no report, just trying to get caught up.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Unsicker?
I don't have a report.
Commissioner Lewis?
I do have a report, naturally. I attended the San Juan Water Commission meeting last Wednesday, and it was interesting. They've come up with a draft plan to how to request animal water to be released from Ridges Basin, also known as Lake Nighthorse. In the past, it arrived last year that when City of Farmington was looking at releasing water from up there was nothing in place on how to do it. And so right now they're looking at what that process could be like, and it looks like what they would do, what the draft looks like right now is basically the representative from the city or whatever entity is on requesting the water would make the request from the Water Commission. So in this case, for the city of Aztec, it would be me, or the alternate member, which would be Mr. Mueller, or whoever else is serving as that position. So it's still in draft form, still being discussed, hasn't been approved yet, but we are moving forward in a way of that, so we know that in the future, this year is probably not going to be an issue with not enough water. We may have too much, but when we do down the road, maybe need water from Ridges Basin, we'll be able to request it. Another thing that came up during that meeting was they had discussed snowpack. It was way, way high, way above normal, which is, in a way is kind of a blessing because we needed it. It does not remove us from drought status. We were still in drought status, so it would take about 4 or 5 years of this to put us back into normal. Unfortunately, it's starting to get really warm, and I understand there's still 100 feet of snow up near Silverton. So keep an eye on the rivers. We may be underwater down at Riverside Park. So the last time this happened in the city, there were cottonwood trees collapsing out there because it was so soggy. I also attended the San Juan County Commission meeting last week, and it was interesting because I had a note, here it is. I don't want to steal anybody's thunder, but they came up with a couple of interesting things. You might have seen the stories in the paper. They had a report from their behavioral health gap analysis. And what they've come up with is, A, there aren't enough behavioral health services in the area, something we already knew. However, they also discovered that the people doing this analysis discovered that a lot of agencies don't know about each other. So they're all trying to reinvent the same wheel, all at the same time. So they're talking about putting together a position, creating a position for a kind of a coordinator for those services in the county that would help coordinate between this agency and that agency and whatever it's sexual assault services and San Juan Foundation, whatever it happens to be. So I thought that was a wonderful step forward, and it's going to be a real plus to the community, which is great. They also, they came up with a wonderful app, and I know that I talked to the mayor about it because he was there too, for your phones.
Pretty cool.
It's called Clean Up San Juan. So anybody coming across an illegal dump site in the county, anywhere, if they have this app on their phone, they can pull it up, punch it in, and it will locate it and get the coordinates, and then we can send it to, the county would send it to the correct agency. So whether it's the Sheriff's Department, Farmington Police, Aztec Police, whoever it happens to be, for them to address the situation. And I think that's a great idea to help address some of the many illegal dumping spots we do have throughout the county,
We
so.
spent $25 to develop it.
Yeah, it was
which was- I
$25.
thought was kind of.
I paid $25 for
Yeah.
that thing, so it was great.
Yeah, it's on the App Store, you can get it for free, it takes
Yeah.
like 2 seconds to download it, you know.
It's wonderful, and they developed it in-house, which was neat. I just think it's
pretty
wonderful.
fast. Yeah, it's
So,
interesting.
anyway, that was my report, but I think it was really good. Go ahead.
Commissioner Lewis, I have a question about the release of water from Lake Nighthorse. I know when Farmington was thinking about requesting that water, there was a problem because I'm hoping that they're working on this. They had never developed who was to oversee that the water actually got to Farmington.
Yes,
So I hope that they're
They are
developing that, who's in charge of what area too.
Yeah, there has been a lot of discussion on
I
that. Apparently, they had an agreement from Colorado to carry, to make sure it made it to the state line.
Right.
But after
Then
that,
it was the state of,
it was,
the state of New
oh,
Mexico's
yeah.
job,
And if there's
yeah.
no water in the river, and all of a sudden there's water, you know, people are gonna try to
Right,
utilize it.
Or
Right.
the next, put their straws in it.
Yeah, everyone's gonna try to put a straw in it,
Yeah.
that's true. So actually, it's the state engineer who is supposed to be responsible for that.
Okay.
And they are discussing it with him. Mr. D'Antonio, the new state engineer, is very knowledgeable and very experienced. He's quite an interesting fellow. And knows what he's doing, and I think he'll be easier to work with on some instances like this, so
Cool.
I'm hoping we don't run into it, but if there is, because
Yeah.
they've discussed everything from a pipeline, which would cost many millions of dollars, which nobody has, and or making smaller storage facilities throughout the county. So all kinds of things have been brought up, but
Good.
right now it's up to the state engineer.
okay, thank you.
Commissioner Randall?
Oh, not much other than I want to apologize for missing the last meeting on short notice, so
I'm glad to, glad
that
to
was
hear your
not
wife is feeling a little better.
planned, but sounds like it was a terrible meeting to miss. There was a lot of information from trying to watch pieces of it online. I'm sorry I missed that one. So, other than that, I think we have our next scheduled library board meeting. We canceled the July one, so the next one's not till September, so hopefully September sometime I'll have a report on that one.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Sipe?
I do have a Northwest New Mexico Seniors tomorrow morning at the Bonnie Dallas Center in Farmington. So that's the only one I have coming up this week. We're still in the process of looking for a temporary executive director for Northwest. So keep your fingers crossed that we can come up with something. And then I just had to share something with you guys. It was kind of a fun thing. I went to the National Bowling Tournament this last week, and my team bowled, and this was the T-shirts that we wore. If you can't read it, it says New Mexico. Yes, it's a state, not a country. So we got a lot of comments about it, but believe it or not, there has been people we all know that do not recognize that New Mexico is a state. So we had those shirts made, and like I said, we got a lot of positive comments about it. So, and I handed out a lot of City of Aztec fans promoting our city. I even talked to one family about retiring here, so they're wanting to get out of Ohio in the snow. So anyway, it was a good trip, and that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem?
I don't really have any particular meeting that I attended, but I live close to Capwalls Park, and it is pristine, beautiful, clean. Just want to thank the Parks Department for the incredible job they do.
All the parks.
And people, it's just that one's in my
I know.
neighborhood. And it's not used very much. So people get over there and use that lovely park. It's been remodeled, new playground equipment, and I go walking in the afternoon, and I'm the only one there. Lovely park. Thank you to your crew. That's it.
Okay. All right. I would like to just go over a couple of quick things. First on my list is I want to recognize and commend and high five and attaboy the Community Development Code Compliance Officer, Mr. DiCamillo. He's been working diligently on getting some of the dilapidated structures taken down. And it's kind of like, that one bite at a time, with the elephant kind of thing. It's going to take time, but he's making steady, concrete, real progress. He's leaning into some of these landowners and getting in touch with them and letting them know, part of it's the new international code that we adopted a couple months ago, but the main part of it is the code is only as good as the person enforcing it, and we've got a good one over there, and he's been kind of chipping away at it, and he's starting to get some results. And when you're driving up Blanco, you look behind the bistro, I didn't even notice how nice it is until, I just saw it the other day where they'd been cleaning up the buildings, that were kind of sagging and falling in there, like old storage sheds. So just a quick, very, very well-deserved thank you and appreciation for all of his hard work. And forgive me for not knowing the name off the top of my head, the apartments over by the library?
Embarcadero.
Embarcadero, yeah.
Yeah,
How do you not know that?
Go by and look at them.
Yeah, I mean, they look great, and that's another thing that Mr. DiCamillo has been pushing and getting after I think the Albuquerque owners, I believe. Is that right? And, it's those little things that really, just a little bit of extra lipstick and rouge kind of thing that really can kind of, polish up your downtown area. And it takes time, but we're making slow but steady progress, and I just want to commend that department, off the top. So thank you very much for that. Second, I'm going to Chaco with my JROTC YCC kids next week, and we're going to get a chance for the third year in a row to take part in the summer solstice program. They only let 100 people into the park to do that, and there's folks from all around the world that try to get in, and we get to do it every year. It's like, oh, we're doing this again? It's like in Forrest Gump when he's like, I met the president again. It's kind of one of those things. But I'm hoping, and I tell these kids every year, I'm almost 50 years old, and I've never seen something like that until the last couple of years, and they're 15, 16 years old, and these are things that they're going to be able to talk about, and they don't get it yet, but they will. And I'm really excited that they're able to take part of this. And when they're older, like me, they can tell their kids and grandkids about how awesome, that program was and what they got to do as a part of it. The Gold Star Families Dinner, I wanted to mention that because I would like to see if maybe we could try and get a table for that, if it's possible, to go and kind of support the mission. It's June 27th. It's Thursday, June 27th. I think at the Civic Center, if I'm not mistaken. Well, it's right here. Yeah, Farmington Civic Center. Wait a second. Yep, Thursday, 7 p.m. So if there's a way we can do that, I'd like to see if we could try and do that. I think it'd be a great opportunity for us to pay tribute to the Gold Star families specifically, especially the ones in San Juan County, and Mr. Woody Williams, who is from the great state of West Virginia originally. So if we could try and do that, that would be wonderful. And months ago, I got an email from the New Mexico United Football/Soccer Club, however you want to word it, football or soccer, and I was extended an invite. I'd forgotten about it until literally the day before. They sent me a follow-up email asking me if I was going, and I just happened to be in Santa Fe this weekend. So I got an opportunity to go and get a little red carpet treatment by the owner. He came and chatted with me and wanted me to extend his appreciation to the city and to the city commissioners for the work that you guys do. And if you haven't gone to Isotopes Park for anything, I would recommend you definitely go down for a New Mexico United soccer match. They won't be back until October. So, but it was so much fun. I had a great time. And last thing, this Saturday, there's a couple of things going on. There's a Pride Parade in Farmington. I don't know the time. I think it's 11 a.m. Thank you. And additionally, and you can do both of them. You don't have to pick one or the other. The American Legion 100-year Jubilee is here in Aztec. I want to say noon to 8. I'm not positive about that. Don't quote me on that one. But it's kind of an all-day celebration. I think it's $5 unless you're a vet and you have some sort of ID or something like that, DD-214, retiree ID or something like that. So there's stuff to do around here. We just got to get out there and support it so we can keep having stuff to do. So I encourage folks to get out. It's supposed to be nice this weekend and enjoy the weather and check out some of these events. And that is all that I have. Thank you for your patience, and now I would like to move to department head reports.
Mr. Mayor, just real quick, the Jubilee is from 10 to
10 to 6 maybe, or?
10 to 8.
10 to 8.
Yes.
Yeah, there
Okay.
it is.
At Mini.
Perfect. Thank you. I appreciate that. Any department heads have anything they need to report? Going once, sold, move to adjourn.
So
Second.
moved.
Thank you. Thank you, folks.